Hi guys, my name's Ellie, welcome to my channel, and I am on a low buy this year, and I thought something we could do is critique makeup that is either really hyped right now or tempting, and kind of just explain why I'm not going to buy that, and potentially do looks. Like this time I want to do a look that you might be able to get out of that stack. We are doing the Melt Blueprint stack. So if I do this right, in theory, I will have pictures of it that I can intersperse. If not, I will put little links down below so you can get to Melt's Instagram where they have a lot of the product shots. They very well might have it up for sale soon. I didn't really care about it because I saw the packaging and I was interested. I saw a couple of the shades and I was immediately let down. They had the option to do a gorgeous, interesting blue stack. And it's only half blue, and they're really common blue shades. The other half is warm neutrals, like a coppery bronze, a dark brown, like just really standard stuff. So, eye primer is on. I'm going to set my crease to brow bone with Free Spirit from my Tartelette palette. So yeah, the packaging is really cool, and I expected more from Melt. Because Melt has done some really interesting color stories, and they just dropped the ball on this one, in my opinion. Because with the way things have gone in the last year plus, when people say, I want blue, the big companies, which Melt is starting to be a big company, have responded with, well, here's neutrals that we know sell well with a pop of blue. And it's been a navy blue. Like a navy to like a mid-tone blue every time. And it's just been very boring because there's so many different blue tones you can do, and you're not getting them in the mass market. Like you can find some of the really cool ones in, in indie brands. They make a lot of really cool blue shades that are more fun to pair into looks. And I understand a lot of people like using navy blue on the outer corner, which is what we're going to do today. But the people who are asking for more blue, for more interesting tones, they're like the rest of us, and they probably already have a matte blue or a navy blue metallic several times over. I'm then going to go in with my Bare Minerals wearable light pistachio pigment that I've been doing to like do my brow bone. It's satiny shimmer. So we have not gotten into the shades that I think are basically dupeable yet, because the Melt stacks, since they have fewer colors in them, Melt doesn't really mess around with having like setting shades, and as much as this is like a little light shimmer, it looks like the shimmer in the Melt stack is like a light white to gold, whereas this is like a silvery beige. So, first thing that is super standard is there's a medium brown. I'm going to use Chessboard in my crease. This is from the Alice Through the Looking Glass palette. And I understand using a brown, but it's the Blueprint stack. The current packaging is gorgeous and blue, and like, why didn't you put some grays or some blue tones or something there that's interesting? Because a brown crease, everybody has. A mid to deep warm toned brown, everybody has. And Melt has put them out before. They've done stacks and stuff that have those types of colors in them, and it's just not interesting. It's not new, and it's kind of a bait and switch situation with the packaging where you're like, ooh, it's gonna be cool, it's gonna have all the blues, it's gonna be gorgeous. And Melt could have done something like that. Like, they've been doing some more interesting green stuff. Still not what I would consider revolutionary, because based on what it's come out after, stuff like the subculture, the murky greens, I'm not treating them as unique anymore, because we had that. We had a whole trend of murky greens. We'll take that same brown on a smaller brush on my lower lash line. And I just would be more interested in something new. Because I'm currently looking for more ways to use the blues in my collection, and I'm finding some really cool things that I like to do with them. But in order to tempt me into buying something during my restriction and using my my time on it, it's gonna have to be interesting. And it just took something that could have been really cool, and they just didn't go there. I'm gonna take a little bit of this darker brown here to deepen up the outer corner up top, because I'm picturing this brown as like the warm, slightly deeper brown in the melt stack, kind of blown out. Yeah. Because like the melt stacks, they used to be much more interesting, like the lovesick stack, the radioactive stack. They're things I was really, really interested in and I really wanted. And now it's just kind of like, well, if I don't get to them, I don't get to them. They're just not going places with them anymore. They're not doing things that are different. So this is evidence. I'm going to put this one on my outer half. Which they have a dark metallic navy blue in that one, which is what I'm kind of picturing when I'm doing this. I'd really like the things that they come out with to be interesting. Because yeah, Melt might not have a navy blue. Actually, they might have a navy blue. I don't even know if they are being unique within their collection, let alone the market. And yeah, a navy blue looks really cool, padded on the outer half of an eye to add some depth while still having color. And I'm not saying that a blue palette shouldn't have a navy blue, but I'm saying if blue is in the name of your stack, your palette, whatever, I kind of treat them as the same, there should be more. Or they should like tie it in. Like if they did like taupey gray tones and deep blues and some interesting blues and just really add in like some purples and some stuff like that that was gonna complement the blue more. Because yeah, people can do browns and blues, but sorry, I'm just putting it on for fun at this point. It's not anything new. This is not something that the brand is creating or innovating with. And they played it up like it's something super cool and it's so interesting. And it's half neutral, half blue. So this is Endless Sea from L'Oreal. This is honestly the closest they got to being interesting, is doing a shade like this. It has so much green and shift in it. Because I have one that's like a mid-toned, interesting color. Like this one. But I have this shade. I'm panning it because I have several dupes of this shade. And when I bought this, a lot of people had this shade too. And especially because of how many, that's the other way they've gone with pops of cool tones in a warm palette, has been these like metallic tealy aqua. shades, so we have them. These aren't new, and it wouldn't be so frustrating if it was, you know, these were the boring shades in an otherwise interesting palette, but these are supposed to be the intrigue shades, the ones where you're like, ooh, ooh, what am I gonna do with blues? And it's just not there. They just, I want a cool, honestly, I don't want, because I have this, but like these blues and greens, those are gorgeous. Throw in some lighters, throw in some mints, throw in some other stuff, and keep maybe some purples, and have just like an entire cool half, because we've had so many palettes that are just the warm stuff. We've had palettes that are just oranges and reds and yellows. Give us the cool side. Give us blues, greens, and purples. Just that, you know, make the transition tones match what you're going in with, and just have it be there. That's all you needed. I'm gonna take this and just kind of fluff out the edges on the outer part, just to make sure there's no harsh lines. But yeah, this is a very easy, very, very standard way to wear those colors, and it's using a lot of them so far. I'm gonna go in and use Chronosphere. This is this dark chocolatey bronze, and I'm going to run that on my lower lash line, like you could use the one in the melt stack. With this little brush. Which normally I don't particularly enjoy putting metallics on my lower lash line. And the big draw to the palette for me would have been the blues, but I felt like if they're going to put a bronze in there, I'll use a bronze. We will play by their rules. So yeah, the other parts on there, it's just not interesting. They're things that have been done before. And then for my inner corner, I'm going to mix Blue Ice and Lucky Horseshoe, because I had this kind of blue-green metallic, and I have one that's a really close dupe, but I'm trying to keep within my Project Pan items right now, and I think I can, if I'm careful. And I've mixed these two before, and they make a really pretty shade, but not anything, oof, that's very bright and icy, bigger than I planned. But now we're gonna match on the other side, because, you know, like you do. So yeah, I'm gonna fluff out that. Yeah, that's the shade. I'm gonna finish up my face and potentially come back with some what I consider interesting blue tones. Finished look. I quite like it, but again, this is the type of look I've done before. I really like pairing that kind of brighter aqua blue with navy, and I threw some liner in on the lower lash line to kind of get some teal going. I put on a nudie pink lip because I think, if I remember correctly, Melt has a couple lipsticks coming out with the blueprint line or just being paired with them, and one of them is like a nudie pink. So, other thing I noticed is going through my collection, the interesting blues I have, a lot of them are the same. So let's just start with it. I've got one in the Sephora Pro Cool palette. This one. This matte, interesting blue right there. That's not the blue you get. A lot of the time, if you're getting a matte blue, it's either like a really, really light one or like a navy that kind of blends into basically black. So that's cool. I'd like to see more of those to stay on that type of a thing. In the electric palette, we have two more really, really vibrant blues. You've got Gonzo and Chaos, so those are really, really fun, and they do stay pretty true to color on the eye. So, things that are fun, things that are interesting to play with. Let's do the old mainstream stuff first. So this is the Vice LTD Reloaded, and I want to touch on UV Blue. It's kind of periwinkle, it's got a lot of purple tone in it, but it is that kind of like softer, pairs well with grays and purples and pinks that you could get away with. And you don't see that very much. You see something that's either very, very like lilac or a lot more blue. So that in between, I found interesting. I pulled this over. This is the Sephora Pantone Universe palette. Just for kind of like this little section here. Like periwinkles, I have a couple matte periwinkles, but this like silvery blue, that's quite nice. Those are very easy to wear. And again, a lighter, more poppy blue up there. They have names. I lost the labeling with their names a while ago. In the Fenty Beauty palette, this is her Galaxy palette. She has this one, which I like a lot. It's a bitch to work with, but it is a pressed glitter in like this tealy blue with like a slight purple, like pinky purple shift. Like, it's really, really interesting. And one of the few things I'll pull the palette out for is to use that like princessy glitter. It doesn't show up without a glitter glue. Like, it is not a great formula, but the color itself is interesting enough that I'll pull it out. What did I have over here? Ooh. This is from Clean Out Cosmetics. It is their Sear highlighter. It is gorgeous. And it's kind of like a big version of an eyeshadow I have over in there, but this one goes on with a nice sheer base and is really, really pretty. I love that. That was the entire reason. Actually, I bought a single to go with the one palette I bought because I didn't want to buy the other palette just for it, and I ended up loving the formula and loving the setup that I bought the other palette as well. I also have the Tarte Make Believe palette. So, Dream. We were talking about having basically the color that's on my eye. I have it. The other one next to it, Mystic, is another version of that just like bluey silver tone that I see a lot, but is still quite pretty. Yeah, those are very similar. And then in here, I've got interesting things. So, this is Venus. It is from Katie Brown makeup. It is a pressed glitter with a lot of blue and silver with gold shift. It's gorgeous. This is less to do with the color. I have this color in a single that I'm going to talk about later, but just the texture. The way of making this something that layers really nicely over stuff, over other shadows, over my eye. It's gorgeous, and I love the texture. Then we get into more Clean Out Cosmetics, because apparently they seem to have most of the blues that I like. This one is Aqua Fortis. So this is blinding you, but it's got a really gorgeous gold shift on this kind of vibrant blue. It's amazing. It's intense, it's pigmented, it's gorgeous. So yeah, look at how bright it is compared to the other one. It's kind of like a more lightened gold version of what's on my eye. So again, that makes that type of color really not unique. Which is why I want to touch on, it's in my Paleo palette. I have that same shade in my Paleo palette called Arctic Waters. So I have, like, I was not joking about that being the most interesting, but also not that interesting type shade. The one I wanted to talk about in here is Crystalline. It's this green, blue, purple type duochrome. It's just gorgeous. And I have a couple versions of this as well that I didn't pull out all of them, but it ends up so gorgeous. It ends up a little bit more purple. I tend to think of it as a purple, but it does have a lot of blue in it. And then, in the Arceo palette, I want to talk about Dead Sea, which is, again, one of those really, really vibrant blues. It comes across a little bit more purple on camera, but it's not fucking around. And it's gorgeous. And having matte blues that are more mid-toned, that are something you can really make a look focus around, is something I'd like to see. So, I guess that's the end. That's just kind of my thoughts are, this is not new or unique, and if you're going to name the palette Blueprint, I would expect it to lean more heavily on blues. And for somebody to be a bigger indie brand that's getting a lot of hype, a lot of interest, and asking for some pretty steep prices for their products, I would expect them to bring out more interesting things. Things that I don't have as many dupes of, that I'm not seeing over and over and over again, that are new, or at least a new twist on something. The laziness of pairing it with browns. As much as I know it's very marketable to put out browns, but indie brands are supposed to be the interesting ones. They're supposed to be the ones coming up with really unique color combinations and stories, things that you're not likely to see in any old corporate made palette. It's just not enough. It's not interesting enough, it's not new enough, it's not unique enough, and it's not creative. It is 3 of the most standard blues, a light shimmery blue, a navy blue, and a matte navy blue. And 1 shade that looks interesting, but with the way palettes have been going, you all have a dupe for this. I bet you money you have a dupe that is close enough that if you put them on similar eyes, they might be slightly different, but not enough to justify having a whole stack for that 1 shade. And then the other half is just browns. Warm tone browns that we've seen over and over again. So, I'm not going to be buying it. This has been critiquing makeup I'm not going to buy. I don't know if I'm going to do the duping a look out of it every time. I might. We'll see what happens. I mainly just like excuses to use Endless Sea. It's really pretty. Which would be a big draw. Like, oh, that's what I was going to show you guys. I lost it. I lost it! The light shimmery shade, the ones that I paired the 2 from Moonchild together, this gives that type of an effect. Like, this is that light shade. And it's gorgeous. But again, not interesting. It was interesting and unique when I bought this. I've seen it a couple times over, especially across several brands, now that it's kind of gotten out. But the company doesn't want to be that brand that's making something that's already out. They want to be mixing the colors in a way that's new and interesting and makes it different enough that people are like, oh, I need that. And I don't. Nobody I've seen has been really excited about the Blueprint stack, and I'm in several makeup groups that are quite interested in more blues, in more interesting blues, more diverse blues, and cool tones. And it's so lazy. These are the blues that are already out, thrown in a palette with some warm tones. That's not what people want. And I found out they're not even keeping the blue packaging, the really interesting, gorgeous blue stack packaging. That's limited edition. The shades themselves are going to come back in a black stack. It's going to be lazy. And the rest of theirs, which I could see being interesting if you wanted it to match your collection, to have all the black packaging all together, but the most interesting part of it was the packaging, and they made that not even something that's going to stick around long term. So, sorry to be a downer, but I don't need this, and you guys probably don't either. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Let me know down below how many dupes you have for this color, because I have a lot, apparently, like a lot.